I'm very, very, very excited about this book review we're going to do today. This is actually a loved family member. There's not actually blood related, but we grew up as cousins. He's my cousin. Anybody say something, that's my cousin. You know what I'm saying? So, huge shout out to him. Fantastic book. This is his second book. Make sure y'all check all his work out. Ennis Geoff Brown. He's got a radio show. He's been a minister. He's been an actor. Been a stand-up comedian. I mean, this guy multi-talented, multi-talented. Um, he gets the job done. So I had to give him a shout out. I read his book. It took me far too long. I will acknowledge that it took me far too long to read this book, but I'm so very glad that I did. And let's get right into it. You know, I don't like to keep everybody waiting, but this book is called Released. Hope y'all can see that. Check it out. I think the cover is dope. Got the lion. I mean, it's fierce. It jumps right out at you. You know what I'm saying? So it stood out to me. I actually did notes for it. You know, the last book review went well. Getting some good feedback, but we're gonna get better every single time, right? So there's 10 chapters in this book. There's 10 chapters in this book released, and I'm just gonna go through my thoughts. We'll chop them up, and I appreciate y'all joining me. You could be anywhere in the world right now. You here? That's not lost on me. I do appreciate that. Make sure y'all hit that like, follow, subscribe, all that social media stuff, and I appreciate it. I just appreciate being able to put something positive out into the world, get something positive back. So let's do it. All right, chapter 1. He talks about dreamers and misfits. So he talks about these two lions. Well, he talks about a few lions, but some documentary he said he was watching, and in the documentary there was these lions. I feel like it's kind of that's distracting me. Oh, can you see it? Yeah, the thing back here might be a little too bright. Yeah, we're gonna turn that off for now. There we go. There we go. It needs to be a little calm. It was screaming back there. You know what I'm saying? It was hollering. Anyway, he talks about dreamers and misfits, right? He says the book is for dreamers and misfits. I think he does a fantastic job setting the foundation. He really draws you into this world. One of the things that I continuously was impacted by was he has the ability to tell these really like deep and rich stories without like announcing, "Hey, I'm getting ready to tell a deep story." And he's just very fluid in how he's able to go through some of these examples. So he's talking about dreamers and misfits. Well, there's these lions in this documentary that he's watching, and one of the lions is named Dreamer. Right now, my first thought was like that had to be some humans that are calling this lion that. Lions don't call each other that, but anyway, it stuck with me. Then this lion, Dreamer, has a cousin or a brother or something like that. I think he's got a cousin who is, his name is Misfit, right? And so I thought that was really cool. Again, right off the bat, real subtle, like how authors do. He's already saying, hey, this is for the dreamers and the misfits out there. This is not for everybody who feels like they already got it all together and don't have, no questions in the world or who have never dealt with anything. This isn't that. And I really appreciated that because I feel like I've been both. I feel like in different seasons of my life, I've been a dreamer. And in different seasons, I've been the misfit. Sometimes I felt like both at the same time. But I just loved that he built this whole book on like there's a dream inside of you, waiting to be released. Kind of is the larger. If I had to boil it down into one sentence, I feel like that's the message I took from it. So I think really builds on this. I feel like if it was a song, it was like, man, that first verse led right into the hook, led right into the second verse, and the beat was going. So that was super cool. That was super dope. As far as chapter 2, he talks about identity. Now, in this chapter, he opens it with like talking about his ID, like his state ID or whatever. And he says some really, like a lot of times in this book, he says stuff that feels very obvious, and then you like let it sit for a second and you're like, that's actually profound. Like he would say, my license has the color of my eyes, my height, my address, my name, and even a picture of me. You could study my ID until you could recite it perfectly and still not know me. There's nothing on my what's up? I see folks joining and always giving a shout out to the people in the live. But I never want to, rock the boat too much for the people watching it back. I appreciate your time. So he's talking about identity and how you can look at somebody's ID and still not really know who they are. You just know that some traits about them. You know some traits about them. You don't know all their traits, and you don't know their character. You don't know. He's going to talk about character later on in the book, but you don't know their character. So he talks a lot about identity and how your ID doesn't tell the whole story. And one thing that really stood out to me was, it's like, I think we sometimes get confused, like ourselves. We don't sometimes take the time to identify who we are, what we got going on, what our actual feelings are about things, where we're trying to go, where we're healing from. That's my issue a lot. Sometimes I just try to go, and I'm not realizing, like, ambition, for lack of a better term, or the identity that people may know me to have, like, motivated mister. People know me as, like, when I start something, I go do it, blah blah blah. But sometimes I don't always feel that way. And so having that, break in your mind between, like, because other people's opinion, when you like it, you kind of welcome it. But other people's opinion, when you don't like it, I feel like it's easier to, say, hey, I'm not taking outside advice right now. But anyway, that really stood out to me. Your ID doesn't tell the whole story. And I thought that's what led me to it. I think a lot of people, especially in this social media realm, I'm not judging nobody. I'm on social media right damn now, right? So I get it, but I think that we kind of reduce ourselves to this bio. I think we reduce ourselves to these 3 or 4 flashy bullet points that are going to capture the attention of the intended audience. And while that's fantastic, I absolutely think that you should engage and capture, the attention of the people that you're talking to. I do think it's important, though, to actually sit with yourself sometimes and make sure you're fully aware of who you are. And I'll kind of use this example. How many times have you heard somebody say, or maybe yourself, we have these, like, different personas on these different apps, right? When I'm on X, I talk about X. When I'm on Snap, I do this on Snap. When I'm on Facebook, that's where, my grandma and them might see me, so I move a little different. So it's like, that makes sense. I don't have, again, no judgment on anybody doing that, but when do we, outside of the apps, integrate all of those personas? When are we synthesizing ourselves to put 20 on 10? But that was super dope. And another thing in that chapter that I would be doing a disservice if I didn't mention was, he talks about generational blessings. I love the wording already. It's like, how many times do we talk about generational curses? How many times you hear that phrase left and right? Generational curse this, generational curse that, baby mama culture, domestic violence, alcoholism, drug abuse, substance abuse. I think drugs and substances are the same, but I'm not an expert. So I'm just saying that there's these things that we're so familiar with generational curses in the larger context of things, but I had never heard it before this, and I was just so pumped. When have you ever heard generational blessings? What has your family been doing that you may not have even been aware of? He talks about how he wasn't always aware of some of the things that his family had been into, for years before he was ever born, and how learning about some of those things really, really inspired him to get back in touch, not get back in touch, but to get in touch initially with his own dreams, his own desire. And bro, that resonated with me so much. I know you're gonna watch this video, Ennis. I'm telling you, bro, this book released, it's a banger, bro. It's a banger. So he's talking about generational blessings, and I think it's so important. This is just my own perspective, right? It's so important. You don't have to go all the way into ancestry.com or whatever, but I think we should be trying to find and connect with our people, man. I think we should be trying to find and get a deeper understanding. When I say connect, maybe that's a step too far. What I really mean is just be aware. I want to study my own family. I want to know, like, where I came from, and great grandpa blah 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 did X, Y, and Z. I love those stories. I love hearing about that stuff. And you would be surprised how, at least for me, it does two things. It kind of creates a scenario where, one, I feel inspired. Hey, great grandpapa blah 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 did X, Y, and Z. I believe I could be somebody too, right? It does that, but it also does this. There's times where you hear about like, oh, cousin so and so did what? They got locked up for what? They got hooked on what? They got, and not in any way judging those people. What I'm saying is it kind of makes it where you're like, wait, so I don't have to be perfect. Every single person that ever lived or walked in this house wasn't perfect. Sometimes in our families and in our dynamics, we can feel like, we constantly have to be like on edge. I read something that was like, family is the source of family is your first source of trauma, or family is the source of all trauma, something like that. And again, not disparaging family in any way. I'm a big family guy, but we got to just be like honest about that. It's like sometimes, going back to the generational curses thing, that's a very common topic. So I'm not, rocking the boat too much to say sometimes we pick up trauma from our, from our houses or from our families. I'm in Texas, y'all. It's like 103 degrees. Look what I do for y'all. I'm joking. I do this because I love it. I would do it if you wasn't here, but I'm so glad that you are. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, all of that. Anyway, generational blessings. You got to check it out. I'm not wasting, but I'm spending way too much time per chapter. But it's just so good. These chapters are not. I'm probably spending more time talking about these chapters than it would take you to read them. I read the book in a single day. I went to the park. I sat out, put my back against a tree, took my shoes and socks off, touched grass, had some ants crawling on me and stuff like that. But I was invested. They didn't bite me. We was all good. So it's a quick read. It's like 125 pages. Again, like I told you with the last book, you don't have to read it that fast. I'm not saying that you have to. This book flowed a little bit more than the last book. Nothing against the last book. If you remember, that was the 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader by John C. Maxwell. It was set up to be like, hey, almost like a recipe book. A cookbook doesn't necessarily flow. It just has these different entries in it, right? It was set up like that. This book, released by Ennis Geoff Brown, I got it on Amazon, by the way. I don't get paid. I'm not selling it like that. I'm pushing it because I think it's a great book. I bought it on Amazon. He had a paperback. That's the one I got. But he also has a hardback. I know he does speaking engagements and all that stuff. So y'all make sure you tap in with him. He's also on Instagram. I think it's _ I am Ennis Geoff Brown or something like that. He'll make sure that I get it right when I go chop this up and put it out on the interweb. So we talked about dreamers and misfits. We talked about identity, and now chapter 3, teammates. This one is super important to me. As y'all may know, I'm a big team guy. That says team is spelled out like a play, kind of. Like I'm always running plays. I got people that I know and love in this world that I would do anything for. I would do anything for them. We've had our ups, we've had our downs. If you can see this and you ever know anything about me and we ever was rocking Team O, I still got you to this day. So I hope that this message finds everybody out there well, but especially, my team. So this chapter really, really resonated with me because teammates, this chapter is about how important your peers are. And not only your peers, because he talks about this, he talks about these 3 M's. I'm just looking down here on my notepad. He talks about multiples, motives, and mission. I'm trying to tell y'all, it was like he was talking to me. It's like he was talking to me. He's doing a great job. Again, the way that he's weaving these stories, he's not like preaching at you. Every time he's sharing a story about himself and kind of his experiences. And I don't necessarily want to ruin that for you. I hope that I'm encouraging you to go read the book. Like I said, it's very simple. It's not very dense. It's not something that's going to be like, oh my God, SJ's asking me to go read this thick book, right? You don't have to have the thick glasses like me. You can just breeze right through it, right? But it's going to hit you. It's going to touch you, right? And so how important your peers are. He talks about multiples, motives, and mission. Now, multiples are your peers, for lack of a better term. The people that are feeding into the people that are feeding into you. And he talks about you can't always control people's multiples, right? I can't control what your sister tells you about me. But by that same token, I can be aware, what her sister says holds a lot of weight, okay? I can be aware this is one of your multiples. That's the way that he's kind of presenting it here. Now, he tells the story about how some multiples were kind of working against him, right? There, just to be frank, to put it out there were some multiples. He was dealing with a human being, and that person had some multiples who had thoughts and opinions and, feelings about their situation and him as an individual, and that began to affect his actual day-to-day interactions with said human being. What's up, everybody joining? I appreciate y'all out here in hot behind Texas, 102, 103, something like that. But we're gonna keep it rocking and rolling. So Teammates was great. He talks about how, like I said, we talked about multiples. Now motives. He talks about motives and how you've got to be mindful. Everybody's not necessarily going to express to you directly, hey man, here's my intention. But you've got to kind of see where are their motives, right? And the thing that hit my heart when he spoke about that was like, there are times where I feel like people may give you like constructive criticism, and the same comment coming from someone that you love and care and respect can like motivate you to want to do better. That very same comment coming from a stranger can be like, who are you talking to? You don't know me. You don't have any ground. You don't have any bearing to speak to me like that, right? So understanding a person's motives is so important, I think, as a when you're gauging your teammates. What are your motives, not only for me, but what are your motives for you? If we're buddies and I think you're my accountability partner, just for example, say we're gym buddies, and I think you're my accountability partner, but anytime I ask you like, hey man, we normally meet up at the gym, but anytime you're not at the gym and I text you, you feel bothered. Anytime I call you, you're like, hey man, why are you all in my business? And I'm like, well, wait a minute, we're accountability partners. We're doing this thing together. You know what I'm saying? And so what are the motives? I'm texting you and calling you in an effort to get you to the gym to improve your health. And to be frank, I don't want to be alone up at the gym. I want my partner. So I'm not gonna, make it sound like I want my gym partner. Y'all don't do that. Don't do that. Don't clip me up and try to make it sound like I said something I didn't say. Okay? Don't you do that. But I want that accountability partner. I want that push as well. I want that motivation. So yes, there is absolutely a level of what I get out of this, but that's the nature of a partnership, right? And so my motives are pure. Whereas you might have somebody else that's hitting you up, blowing you up. Hey, bro, and I'm only speaking from my experience. Hey, bro, I got that work. You know what I'm saying? Pull up. I got that. You haven't hit me up all year. Don't check on me. Don't ask how my mom's is doing. But hey, bro, I just got that ooh-wop. You know what I'm saying? You should pull up. And next time you know what I'm saying? We get, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm like, I appreciate it. See how the energy is all positive. But what's the actual motive? You're trying to get me to go backwards, man. I appreciate that. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here. I'm serious. I don't say that off the cuff, but I'm just so excited about this book. I'm talking about this book. It released. Ennis Geoff Brown is the author. Man, he put his foot in that thing. I don't know if people say that about books, but they say it now. So anyway, what's the motive? Are people hitting you up? It's high energy. It sounds good, but the end result is actually getting you into trouble. The end result is knocking you off your square. The end result is distracting you from your goals, your purpose. And I'm not trying to go all off on a tangent. I'm just saying motive is so key because, like I said, sometimes people might kind of snap at you, but the motive there is positive. Then you got somebody else who's telling you everything you want to hear, but they really they want to comfort you into stagnation. You know what I'm saying? So that really stuck with me. Third M was mission. What's their mission? That kind of, like I said, what's their motives for them, right? I think that's more to what's your mission. If me and you hang out, like I said, we gym buddies. I think we gym buddies. But I come to your house, and again, this is not judgment. This is just observation. I think that we're gym buddies. I'm buying, new sneakers to go to the gym in. I'm getting outfits specifically so I can't ever say, oh, I was out of shorts or I didn't have enough, blah, blah, blah. I'm preparing myself, right? And I'm getting rid of certain foods, or I'm including certain foods into my kitchen. And I come to your house and it's brownies, donuts, coffees, sugary coffees and stuff like that. Again, no judgment, but I'm just like, hey, bro, we've been in the gym now. Again, I'm making this up as I go. We've been in the gym for, 3-4 weeks now, 3-4 months now. What's going on? Are you taking care of yourself in the moments when I can't see you? Right? Because I'm relying on your, I would say, field testing, your real world field testing to benefit me as well as your gym partner. I want to hear that, man, I was reading this article the other day and apparently isometric holds are better for gains or blah, blah. I want to feel like we're both kind of in this, gym journey, if just to keep the example going. And if you don't seem to have that mission, if your mission is like, man, sometimes I just be coming up to the gym to get away from my girl, bro. But like, if everything is cool at home, I don't have no reason to come up here. And I'm certainly not trying to suggest that y'all should, spend more time away from your lady than you want to or need to. But you feel what I'm saying. So I think that the mission, he's making the point that the mission of these people in your life, your peers, you're not their mission. Let's be clear. These people don't live to help your dream come true. And I'm kind of talking to myself. It took me far longer than I want to admit that's how I used to think. Like, man, my vision is well thought out. I can verbalize it, effectively. I'm charismatic. I'm outgoing. People would want. Y'all want to wear Kobe's. You want to wear Jordans. You want to bump Drake. You don't know him. He's charismatic. He's outgoing. And these are my, the thoughts of a child. And it's like, I thought that people would just want to support my mission because they hadn't verbalized their own. But in reality, everybody's got their own mission, and they may be in different stages of knowledge or awareness of their own mission, but everybody's got one. And so I think tying this into what John C. Maxwell was saying in the other book, charisma is kind of like making other people feel more comfortable about themselves and sharing about themselves than you are at making them comfortable, hearing about you or talking to you. So that's just my thought. Again, I get so ingrained in these chapters. I feel like I'm spending more time talking about them than it would take you to read them. So check them out. That was teammates. Okay, number 4, he talks about attractions, attracting what you want and guarding your dreams. And he talks about gatekeepers. So the way he does this, again, I've been telling you guys that he's telling, these great stories in this book released by Ennis Geoff Brown. We're on chapter 4, attractions. And what he presents this chapter as a real life story of his 16th birthday party. Now, what was very funny to me was when you read this book, and again, this is my cousin. I've known this guy. When I say we go way back, I'm talking about like, hey, this is your mom, this is your dad, the sky is blue, this is your cousin. Okay, I met him. He was born 13 days after me. And I mean, we peas in a pod. That's all I'm saying. This is my guy, okay? So his 16th birthday, phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? Like literally the talk of the neighborhood. But the way to hear it from his perspective is so interesting because he talks about like advertising it on the school radio. He talks about hiring a DJ. He talks about handing out flyers at different schools, multiple schools. And then he sums it up with like, I had no idea this many people were going to show up. I was tickled by that. I thought that was hilarious. But in the midst of telling this story, he paints a much larger picture. Like, hey, when you have a dream and when you have vision, sometimes it's not going to fit your current circumstance. He talked about how being 16 is a really big age, and it's a significant, perhaps symbolic. I don't know if he used that exact language, but he was like, it's a significant birthday when you're turning 16. So he wanted to do something. He wanted to do something big. He wanted to do something bold, but he couldn't do it at his own house. And so the girl that he was dating at the time, her mom said, you can use my house to throw your party. He was in the game. And he was like, sometimes people are going to put you in a position to bring your dream to life, and you weren't even aware that door was going to open. You had no idea. But you still have to nurture your vision. You still have to nurture your own dream, because that door may open today or may open tomorrow. So you got to, I guess, kind of like, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. You know what I'm saying? If I had to just try to sum it up for you. He talks about attracting what you want, right? Like doing the flyers, putting out the advertisements on the school announcements and stuff like that. Like, he didn't just say, hey, I'm having a party, I hope some people come. Like, he believed in his dream. He believed in it. At the time, his dream was this party, right? He believed in it. He pushed it. He promoted it. He got other people to push you. He got other people to buy into the dream. He talks about that a little bit. He talks about guarding your dreams. So um, at this party, not necessarily inside. So he talks about how the party is dope. The party starts filling up. It starts packing up. They start spilling over into the garage. Then they start spilling out into the street. Then they're spilling out down the street at the cross street at this point. You know what I mean? Like it's cracking. You know what I'm saying? Lit. Whatever the kids is saying now, right? And so somebody outside for some reason or another lets off a firearm. Lets off some pistol shots in the air, right? What you gonna do? Hard R's. So the party gets broke up, obviously. You know, the police come out, blah, blah, blah. They tell them, hey, you got to shut the party down. I mean, there's people out here shooting. What are we talking about? You got to shut the party down. So they say, okay, you know, all right. They turn the music down and everything like that. People start kind of, you know, moving around and the police leave. Now, the party was so deep that you could have had a block full of cars leave. It could have legitimately looked like, hey, we're shutting the party down. And once the police were gone, they kind of just like slowly turned the music back up and the party kept going, right? So there was no more gunshots or anything, but hours later, you know, our neighbors were calling to tell the police like, hey, they never shut the party down. They still going, they still rocking. You know, I think they shooting for 6 a.m. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what they doing. So then the police come back. That's not necessarily the main part of the story, but I just thought it was cool how he tells this full circle story. And then he talks about how the guy shooting off gunshots was kind of the result of, he was like, looking back, I would have done it different. I didn't have any security. I was so concerned and so excited to bring my dream to life that I didn't even think about how to protect it. I was just so excited that it might actually even happen that I didn't think about like the what ifs. I didn't even consider, you know, how to actually protect the dream. And so somebody who I may not have even invited. You know, at this point, the party is just known. He said people were catching the bus across town. People were carpooling there. So at this point, this could be truly somebody from some other school I've never met shooting off gunshots in the air. Fire! Fire! Who knows, right? But my party is affected. I'm here with people that I actually do know, love, and respect and have invited personally. And now our night is being impacted by the actions of others who are quite literally outside. And he kind of talks about being outside the house as like your dream has this like structure, and there are people who are around because of your dream, even if they're not in it. And you've got to be aware of that. Again, I think he ties these chapters together very well, or the concepts I think are tied together very well. So when he was talking about, you know, the people that you have in your life, and how that can impact you, right? So I invited somebody, they invited somebody, and somebody invited the dude who thought it was a good idea to not shoot up, but he was just shooting up in the air. But still, like what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? It's not even your party. Like, what are you doing? So anyway, that was attractions. Then he talks about gatekeepers. And again, he talks about this in a very positive way. He does, you know, shine some light on, I think, the normal connotation we all have for the word gatekeepers is like people that are trying to keep you from something. But in this instance, he talks about how the girlfriend's mom was the gatekeeper, right? She opened the door to her home. She opened the gate to his dream. She opened that opportunity for him to say, hey, I can actually bring this into fruition. So he talks about honoring gatekeepers, you know, identifying them and honoring them when they give you those opportunities, right? So fantastic chapter, great chapter. It's just, the whole thing is a party, seriously. Okay, chapter 5, setbacks. He talks about this phrase, minor setbacks for a major comeback. Now, he says it's kind of a cliche. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you are now. I certainly appreciate you watching. Make sure y'all like, follow, tap, share, comment, all of the social media stuff, right? All of it. You don't have to do all of it, but just do 7 out of 8 of them. You know what I'm saying? So he talks about setbacks, minor setbacks for a major comeback. That's really the whole theme of the whole chapter. And I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. There's times where, but he does, oh my gosh. Again, he's so good at saying things that kind of feel obvious, but then they're like, that's deep. He's like, when you're going through the setback, it doesn't feel minor. You have to accomplish the comeback so that you can then kind of retroactively label that setback minor. So that's the goal. Excuse me. You're dealing with a setback. Right now, in real time, it feels real. I'm dealing with some stuff right now y'all wouldn't believe. I'm I'm sad about some things. I'm extremely excited about some other things. Um, I'm confused about some things. I'm extremely certain about other things, right? Like life is a journey. It's a roller coaster. And you just never know where it's gonna go, right? But if you have that mindset of any setback only sets me up for a comeback, then I think it makes it a bit more bearable. At least for me. It's like, I'm not sure how I'm going to grow from this, but I know I'm going to grow, right? I know that my comeback is going to be major. I'm going to develop either straight up life lessons. I might develop, physical strength or stamina, whatever you're going through. So that's what he's mainly talking about. Now he talks about some serious setbacks, in his own life. Man, he talked about how he lived in the backseat of a car for a moment. Not a moment, but I don't know exactly the span of time, but he kind of just glossed over it. It wasn't like a woe is me, oh my God, I had it so bad. He was really kind of painting the picture of someone else. He does a really good job of bringing in not characters, but like other people in real life. He'll say, hey, I was talking to my friend, and my friend and I were having this conversation. And he kind of breaks that down. So it really feels like I don't know, you're like hanging out with this guy. It is a book, but it feels like you're just kind of hanging out with this guy. So that's cool. But so he's talking about other people's setbacks, and then he kind of throws these shades of, and I know what that's like. I've been through something, I've been broken before. And you're like, wait, what do you mean you've been broken? Then he goes back to the focal point of his story. And I loved that. I loved that, like, this guy is not so caught up in his ego that he's trying to make sure he's talking about himself, if that makes sense. And I'm not trying to say that people who talk about themselves in their own book have, raging egos. I just felt like it was really refreshing to hear. It was almost like this. It was like he was a photographer. He was really good at capturing others, telling a story about his perspective on these events that were happening in other people's lives. And through that, I was able to get a perspective on his life. So it was really, really cool. It was really, really, really cool. He talks about setbacks and how he overcame them. That's chapter 5 in Released by Ennis Geoff Brown. I would absolutely suggest that you check it out. He did tell me that he also has an audiobook version. So if you're an audio person, lazy reader, then check that out. And I'm just messing with y'all. I love a good audiobook. But this is what it looks like. It's got the lion on the front. It's got his name, says Released. It's hard to miss. It's hard to miss. It's a fantastic, fantastic book. So let's keep rocking and rolling. As I already said, there's only 10 chapters in it. So at this point, we're already halfway done, right? 6 is Strongholds. My tagline for this chapter, he didn't say this necessarily, but what I took from it was relationships will make or break you. He talks about like layers that then create a stronghold. I don't think you just fall into a stronghold. I don't think you just find yourself in a stronghold. And again, from his perspective, he takes the relationship perspective. He's like, you're talking to this person, you're dealing with this person, you're seeing, how they behave, you're seeing how they behave with their family, you're seeing how they behave with their multiples, right? And then you're deciding to kind of ignore some of that, or you're deciding to embrace some of that, right? And just how that can create strong foundations one way or the other. I think if you all, I don't want to give too much personal opinion on it, but I think that he does a very, very good job. I'm trying to tell you, he describes in a very, very non-offensive way, non-abrasive, what it feels like to be, I don't know, maybe abandoned in a relationship or turned upon in a relationship. And again, I don't want to speak too much for him. This chapter was very like, whoa, okay. I know I said the last chapter was kind of like him talking about somebody else. This chapter was about him. You know what I'm saying? He really got vulnerable in this chapter, which makes for great reading. But I've also got to be, mindful. This wasn't just a fictional novel. This is a person's real life. So he talks about strongholds and how relationships can make or break you. I think that's so true. I've got fantastic relationships in my life right now. I'm pretty sure I've purged all the harmful relationships, and that took a while. It really, really did. And when he talks about strongholds, it's like people who have such a grasp over your thoughts and your emotions. And I feel like I'm at the stage where it's like that's projecting. You have control over your thoughts and emotions, and you're giving that power away and then labeling that somebody else's fault. I know that might be tough. Y'all just said, hey, bro, just read the book. Ain't nobody asked you to read us. I'm just trying to read the room. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, chapter 7, another great one. Another banger. Another banger. CPR. Now, he breaks this down, and he talks about, like, God breathing into his dream. Excuse me. And how sometimes when you're broken, when you're down, when you're crushed, you're betrayed, you're hurt, you're lost, you feel out of breath, you feel like you can't keep going on, and you need to be resuscitated. So that's kind of how he sets it up, right? And CPR, he uses it as like an acronym, right? So he says character, pain, and reactions. Those are the three. And then he breaks those down. And again, I encourage you to read it for yourself. I'm going to give you what I took from his breakdown. Character is you, okay? Pain grows you. And your reactions to pain reveal you. He's also vulnerable again in this chapter. Oh my God, it's bad. My bad, y'all. That was the love. The light of my life. But I gotta call it back. So, CPR. Character is you. Pain grows you. Reactions reveal you. So he talks about, I was saying he's vulnerable to the point where it's like my circumstances. And he says this, like, I can acknowledge and I can acknowledge my circumstances have affected my character. There's times when I'm up and I feel a certain way and I present a certain way and I'm, giving myself out to the world in a certain way. And when I'm down on my luck, when I'm down on my chips and I just don't got it, my character he doesn't say completely changes, but he says, I think he uses the term flex. It flexes me. And I thought that was, again, he didn't necessarily know it, but he was saying things that I have felt. And he may not, I mean, of course he doesn't know, he's not in my brain. He was saying things that I have felt. And I just think it was such a great, I mean, he's a young black man, an intelligent young black man. He was talking about, being adopted, coming up. He's got another book called The Adopted Kid. He's spoken about just some of his family stuff. I'm not going to put all his business out there again, because if you want to read it in the framework of the book, that's fine. I just don't want to make it seem like I'm gossiping about this guy. But he's very vulnerable in this book. Character flexes, when you're dealing with these different circumstances and different things that are weighing on your mental or vying for your focus, right? Pain grows you. It absolutely is a requirement, I think, of life. It is going to affect you one way or the other. You're either going to lean into it or you're going to spend time, energy, resources trying to avoid it. I'm not saying either one is right or wrong, but it is a factor that's going to affect how you're showing up and it's going to grow you. So if you're practicing avoiding pain, you're growing as an avoidant. You're growing as a runner. And I'm talking to me. I've lived this. Anytime I get on here talking like I'm high and mighty, I'm talking to the old me. So I just want to be clear. I appreciate you, never judging you, and I appreciate you, just hanging out. But pain grows you, and it can grow you into a very, very dark place, or you can allow it to forge you, if that's a better term. Like, yeah, I think that's a good term. And then your reactions to pain reveal you. They reveal the character, right? So again, the way that he's presented it, CPR, they're in that order. But I think that in practice, it's like pain, growth, character already is in there. There's different elements that are playing and they change, right? So there's I think there's some core principles, but most of the time we grow and change and for lack of a better term, evolve even within our own lifetime, right? So bear that in mind. Fantastic chapter. There were some anchor chapters I talked about. Maybe I talked about it in the last book, but I was like, an anchor chapter is like when I think back about this book, I'm going to remember this story. I'm going to remember this chapter. I don't remember every single word in every book, but I know that that's an anchor chapter. That's how I felt reading that chapter number 7, CPR. All right. Number 8, the chapter is release date. Now, obviously, the book is called Released, so you can kind of feel the energy, in this book. I'm sorry, in this chapter when he got going. He used the story of being a first-time dad to illustrate what it's like to prepare and nourish a dream before it even arrives. So, again, I'm gonna tie together some of these concepts. I think like he really does a great example in this chapter in particular about talking about how his firstborn child was coming. He mentioned being young at the time. I think he was like 18 or 19. So he talks about in a very vulnerable way, like in a very real way. Like I was at this fork in the road. Like, am I going to be there for my kids, or am I going to? And I thought, like, of course I'm going to be there for my kids. You know what I mean? Like, and just hearing. I think as adults, it's easy to say, like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. But when you're actually a teenager and you're making those decisions, I want to be a man of character. What does that mean? I'm deciding what tracks I want to take. I don't even know where that road is going to take me, but I'm choosing to go this direction. So it was very, very enlightening to it was like being over his shoulder as he was having some of these deep thoughts. But he talks about how, like, I had never even met my daughter yet, but I already knew, I wanted the best for her. So I had already started to prepare certain things. And it's like, do you have a dream? Are you preparing for it? Are you looking forward to it? Are you nurturing it? He was preaching, bro. It doesn't read like a bunch of sermons. I want to be clear. I know I said he was a minister at one point in his life, but it does not read like this guy's just preaching at you. So I know that can be kind of a turnoff for some readers, but it was just a fantastic chapter. Fantastic all around. Release date. There's, again, not much more I can say about it. I don't want to beat these chapters to death because I really want you to check them out for yourself. But this was fantastic. So number 9, chapter 9 was Destiny. How a tough sermon turned the tide and convinced him this was his destiny. So in this chapter, chapter 9, he talks about giving a sermon. So he had been, throughout the book, he's talking about kind of his journey and his dream, things he wanted to do. He had mentioned playing in a play, I think like senior year of high school, and his guidance counselor kind of like pulling him to the side, like, hey, you need to do this. You know what I mean? Like you have a talent. So he did, and I've personally seen him. The guy's fantastic. Like I said, I know he's a stand-up comedian at one point. He's hilarious to me. So the fact that he went pro with it wasn't no surprise to me. But he does talk about, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so he had been working towards, becoming a pastor. He had started like a Bible study in his own living room. He had done that for a little while, built a nice little community. Then he started to, I believe, be a youth pastor at a church. He got some pastors, like some senior pastors, to be mentors to him. So he was actually, studying and taking it serious. I think he mentioned taking like a 2-year Bible course. So he was applying himself. He wasn't just like playing around. But he actually got his opportunity to do his first, I would say, big, like, I'm the main speaker, right? Years since his dream had already been planted, he's been working towards it, he's been nurturing it. He finally gets his big shot, and he said it's not going well. Like, he opens with something that he thought was going to get the people going, crickets, right? And when you're preaching, especially to, my folk, you're going to have to come with it. We want to hear something get us going, or it needs to be real deep. It needs to be, Turn to your neighbor and say, pastor. It needs to be one or the other. It can't just be kind of fall flat. And he was describing it like it was kind of falling flat. They wasn't hearing him. He kind of tried to pivot. Road was a little bumpy. He said he was in it having his own battle internally. Should I be here? Is this too soon? Am I enough, right? He's having all these thoughts while verbalizing, the word of God to people. So he's fighting this internal battle. He's saying that it's still going kind of rough. He has some high points in there, but not enough for him to feel like he's, got it back. And then he said at one point he just got very emotional, got very vulnerable, started sharing his personal testimony, like not necessarily what I wrote down and what I thought is going to sound good. He started writing his personal testimony. Tears start pouring down his face. And the crowd, not the crowd, I don't want to say the crowd, because these are real people. These are, folks in church, not for entertainment, but they're there for, spiritual growth. And they started to pour out as well. It resonated with them. So again, him trying to impress them didn't impress them. Him trying to sway them didn't sway them. But him trying to just be vulnerable and be honest and let God work through him, that touched the people. And then he said he ended up having, again, I don't want to misquote him, but it was like either the largest altar call that they had had till then, or it was certainly the largest altar call he had ever been a part of. I can say that confidently. So I just loved how he talked about, he positioned it to where it's like, man, even on, go live day, when it's the big game, it's the big day, it still may not hit exactly the way you think it's gonna hit. You know what I'm saying? And you still gotta fight through it like it's your dream. And God will see you through. So that was just super dope. That was super dope. And then chapter 10, he wraps it up with another fantastic acronym. This one was called PUSH. And that stands for promise, understanding, stand, and then humble. So he talks about a promise. You've got to make promises sometimes to yourself and to others. And then how are you committing to them, right? He talks about, God's promise to him and how he believed in it, and the promises that he had to make to himself and to other people in his life, like his children. It's very, very evident reading this book that he is a loving and devoted father. I mean, it's obvious he doesn't find he doesn't miss an opportunity to share about his daughters and how much he loves them. So that was awesome as well, just to hear some love and just that much encouragement and love and positivity, like I said, again, coming from the community. So he talks about promises. He talks about understanding. You've got to continue to seek understanding. Like I said, my own take on it from the ID chapter, which was chapter 2, identity. He talks about the importance of, let me get a little bit more light in here. He talks about the importance of, understanding your dream, really understanding what it is you want, what it is you're trying to do. Simple stuff like if you're trying to be a content creator, there's classes you can take. Like Instagram itself has classes, YouTube has classes. Streamer University is an offshoot, a fantastic offshoot. I'm not trying to shoot nobody down. I'm just saying, like, there are real life, you could take courses for this stuff from entry level all the way up to like advanced. There are people going to college for social media marketing and stuff like that. So whatever your dream is, apply yourself, do it. Whoever's watching right now, seriously, do it. You got a dream, you got a vision, you got a purpose, go after that, gain understanding about it, learn more about it. And what I found was, because music was one of my passions, the more that I learned, the easier this actually is to accomplish. I didn't know how much I didn't know. Then you start learning and you're like, that's all I have to do. Not to water it down, but it's like, oh, so this isn't just some great big mystery where, oh, Zeus just reaches down from the sky and decides you're famous. It's like, oh, there's a protocol. There's a formula to this, right? I can learn it or I cannot. Boom, I love that. Stand. He talks about standing. Sometimes it just gets hard. Sometimes it just gets tough. He's definitely a manly man's, the way that he writes, the way that he talks. There's no wiggle room. He's talking about like, yeah, I was down, but I got back up. There's never any room for, I think, wallowing, or the story never ends with him wallowing, should I say. So he talks about standing. Sometimes there's pressures on you. Sometimes you're just, you're burdened by just life, just what's going on. And you got to stand. You got to stand. You got to stand up for your dream. You got to stand up until your dream gets there. You got to stand and wait. Sometimes you have to stand by humbly. So he talks about humility. That's a big one. I love that he ends with this, because this guy is super blessed. I'm serious. Like if you see him, he's dressed very nice. He speaks very well. He drives a very nice luxury vehicle. But he's extremely humble. I mean, he literally lived like it feels like you're talking to a guy. It doesn't feel like there's some ivory tower author talking back, to the youth about what he's already learned and figured out about life. It's like you're talking to a guy who figured something out yesterday, and he's being very real. Like, hey, man, I was just going up here to the store the other day, and I figured out if you make a left, it's a shortcut. Like, this is like almost real-time information is how it feels. Now, again, I apologize. I truly, truly feel bad it took me this long to read this book. It should not have taken me that long, but I did knock it out. I certainly enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite books of the year already. One more time, Ennis Geoff Brown released Your Destiny Awaits. That's the subtitle. Y'all check it out. It's on Amazon. It's on, Audible. I don't know if it's in like Barnes and Noble and stuff like that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's out there. He does, like I said, speaking engagements. He sells cases of these books, middle schools and stuff like that. So much props to him. Again, big shout out to everybody that watched all the way through, or watched parts and got what they needed from it. I hope that it fed your spirit. I certainly appreciate you being here. As you can see, my lighting crew, the sun is clocking out for today. So I certainly appreciate y'all. Y'all be blessed. I'm SJ, and I'm gonna catch you in the next one.